Time for chapter 3 of the Garden of Chaos. If you want it done right, this time it's a rarity, and it doesn't have a dark tag. Hopefully it isn't as terrifyingly shocking and kind of disturbing as the last one. And my friend said that my recordings are boring. Everybody tell her that she's an awful person in the comments. Seriously, tell her that she's awful, because she doesn't respect me. She doesn't respect my forte. Let's get to the fanfiction reading. My word, this maze is positively dreadful. I have never had to draw through something so poorly designed. I feel like I could make a joke out of that, but I got nothing. So, yeah. If you want to make a joke out of it, do it! Rarity made her way through the garden maze in a different way than the other mares. She had taken a route which seemed to lead her on more twists and turns than she ever thought possible. They got to a point where she began to predict the turns and made them with her eyes closed. As if the maze presented no challenge to a patient, it somewhat annoyed mares such as herself. I was expecting an audience with the princess, not out to saw sports. As if on cue, the mare ran face first into something large and stiff, forcing her to withdraw as she found her bearings and looked to the side of what she had hit. Oh god, I told her that you guys should insult her in the comments. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm gonna send her this video, and I'm gonna see if she watches far enough. I'm gonna see if she watches far enough to realize that I said don't do it because she's a good friend. I might have to just upload this as soon as I'm done with it. Okay, that's funny. I'm sorry. Back to the reading. Forcing her to withdraw, she found her bearings and looked at the side of what she had hit. Her face took on a lark of deadpan bemusement as she recognized it as the goalpost of a soccer net facing away from her. She dusted herself off of her hoop and scoffed at the structure. Oh, ha ha, what a funny joke. Oh, you think so? Oh, wait. Oh, you think so? I don't know what the fuck I did for my Discord voice. God damn it. And every pony has to play, or else I win. I can't do Discord, I'm sorry. There are, I've seen a lot of people do, an amazing fucking Discord. I'm not one of those people. The voice snickered playfully at her, but she didn't have time to react before she felt herself grabbed by a set of paws and dragged across the ground forcefully. And now this is going to get awkward because back to recording. This is unprofessional! But she didn't have time to react before she felt herself grabbed by a set of paws and dragged across the ground forcefully. A quick yelp was all that she could manage before the fashionista was pulled through one of the hedge walls beside her. In an instant, he landed on her rump in another part of the maze. It looked familiar, as if she'd traversed it before. But then again, the entire garden looked like this, thanks to the influence of a certain Draconicus. Not gonna say names. Before she could stand, she heard the voice beckon to her again from nearby. Even a snob like you can appreciate a joke every now and again, right? Rarity turned her head, flipping her mane, and she turned to face Discord, who floated in midair a few feet away from the disoriented pony. Her surprise drew into a disapproving glare at the beast. Had it not been for his antics, she would have spent a nice time with Princess Celestia and not waste her time trudging through a dank and blank-looking maze to find something she had never even seen before. Discord, what do you want? She spoke with a clearly upset tone, fed up with the Draconicus before he had even gotten started with his shtick. Paying her standoffishness no mind, he snapped his fingers and reappeared closer to the mare, this time at her side, as he simply declared, "No need to be so cold. I just want to talk for a little while. Is that so evil. Please, save it to some pony who cares. Now, if you'll excuse me, my friends need me to find my element of harmony. Rarity is about to pull herself up and stand tall as she decided that the conversation was now over from her point of view. However, the god of chaos quickly interrupted her in her quest to find her element with another round of teasing. Oh, that selfless pleasure you've given any furry pony else. What about your needs? He leaned closer, this time speaking to her with a seductive tone. She silently denied that she was enjoying his slower vocalization as her mental train of thought derailed itself. She found his words intriguing, but said nothing as he continued. You must have satisfied yourself at least a few times. Embarrassed blush spread across Rarity's face as she scooted herself away from the looming figure. His accusation caught her off guard, and the mayor quickly stammered out a response. A proper lady doesn't need to take care of herself. She can wait for them when the time's right. The Draconicus's... I don't know how to fucking say that. Long body snaked its way over to the mayor sitting on the garden floor, looking so vulnerable and ripe for his attempts to pick at her will. His plan was working, as it always had, and he had her right where he wanted her. When is the right time, Rarity? When you're curled up in your bed late at night, with no one to keep you occupied and that intense heat just refusing to go away? He struck a chord to pin her. Rarity had, admittedly, tried to control herself when she got lonely on hot nights in her boutique. So hard to find a good stallion, and that discord brought to her attention. She only blushed a deeper shade of red and remained silent. Excuse me. With a pout, she looked down and tried to avoid making eye contact. She was far too embarrassed to say much of anything at this point, and simply allowed discord to move closer with her without her even realizing. When she felt his breath and heard him chuckle again, she turned and found a myriad of colors swelling into an entrancing spiral staring at her. The mare's ears drooped as she gazed into the colors and listened closely. Those talented hooves always knew just the right spots to touch. It's so easy to ease yourself back and just let your hoof do all the work for you. Go at your own pace and build to your own release. Now I mustn't look. Discord couldn't help but laugh as Mare tried to turn her head away, but found herself strangely unable to, as the colors forced her to stare straight forward and listen to the Draconicus. A single paw reached forward to grab at the back of her head, holding her very close and nudging her eyes as close to his as possible. No stallion ever did anything for you, so why should you bother giving them the time of day? All you need are your hoofs, and they can grant you any kind of pleasure your heart desires. Cut out the middleman and just enjoy yourself. Enjoy myself. Yes, don't need any pony else. It was then that Discord made his move. In one swift motion, his long body slid under Rarity until his upper half was seated right behind her on his chest. He kept free movement of his hands and moved them in front of Rarity, taking her right hoof in his paw in order to manipulate it. Gently, he led her hoof down to trace down her soft coat, giving her belly a light rub before moving down to split her legs apart. She easily gave way and allowed herself to be spread, open to the air as well as perfectly accessible to her hooves. A slight gasp could be heard before the other hoof went to cover her mouth of its own accord. Discord couldn't help but chuckle as he dragged her right hoof lower down her body and toward the set of soft lips she often ignored. Your hoof can feel like anything you want it to. From the most sensitive of a stallion's curiosity to the more experienced mare, you can bring yourself to such heights. For a brief moment, Discord used her hoof to reach down and spread her lips to the side, revealing her glistening slit to the both of them with an air of intrigue. Curiously, he forced her hoof to prod herself in slow circles as if mimicking a stallion trying to please her. The sensation felt brand new and amazing in its own right to the indigo-maned pony, who eked out soft moans of pleasure. She had never been this wet before, and when she had used her hoof, it felt better than anything she'd ever experienced. No toys or even a full-grown stallion could make her feel as good as she was while pleasuring herself. There was a sort of silence for a few moments, as the only audible in the garden were Rarity's slow pace touching and the soft breath she allowed to escape her lips. Her body begged for more, and soon its needs were going to be filled by none other than the fashionista herself. That's when Discord released her hoof and slid away. A second passed, and a nervous gulp took place before the hoof continued its motions, feeling so familiar to her now, as she touched herself so openly. She was managing it all by herself, and that was what Discord wanted, until he whispered into the mayor's perked up ears once more. Now show me what you can really do with those hoofs of yours. In an instant, her other hoof dove between her legs and spread her pussy lips, while her right hoof began to feverishly rub her growing clitoris. She had never even considered touching herself there before, but now she felt as if it was the only thing she could do to reach that orgasm she so desperately craved. She lowered her head to look at herself, furiously massaging her clit while she traced her nether lips and prodded against them. Everything else around her ceased to exist. It was only her body and the pleasure she was giving herself. Nothing else was necessary or even remotely preferable to the spectacular feeling she had. Rarity felt both weak to her own ministrations as well as a sense of power, knowing that she was satisfying her body in such a way. The mix of emotions and continuing heat building inside her made her scream out to the Tronicus as he moved to watch her closely. Ah, so good. Right there. Oh yes, no pony has ever satisfied me like that. Finally, Rarity bit her lip as she was racked with an incredible sensation. The mare's body shuddered under the intensity of her orgasm while her lower half squirted her juices onto her hoof, as well as the garden floor in front of her. She had never came so powerfully before, and this performance honestly surprised her as she woozily tried to stay seated up. The mare's sweaty body glistened in the sun, and her face lit up in a blissful smile. She had pleased herself, and she loved every second of it. Her old ways of being proper and reserving herself for the right stallion were simply out of the question now. Her face showed a look of pure joy as her mouth hung open and her eyes rolled up into her skull. Making herself climax like that was a divine pleasure that she wanted. No, she needed more of. Her tired body fell onto the grass below, leaving her hoof now soaked in her juices at her entrance. Discord could only watch with a giddy smile on his face as the mare brought herself to orgasm so easily with her fevered masturbation. Now that he'd gotten her off once, the only logical solution was to see just how far he could push her. A proper mare like you should lick up her reward and savor every second of her release. After all, this amazing euphoria is how you will always feel when you're pleasing yourself. Rarity sat up to get a better view for herself and looked down her hoof to find the shimmering liquid coating it. She wasted no time in bringing it to her mouth and sucking on her hoof as if her own flavor was a delicious treat that shouldn't be wasted. The taste was what immediately struck her. It had a unique flavor that she didn't particularly enjoy. But her brain was far too laden with arousal to care. In fact, her fuzzy thoughts that could only recognize what she was doing only seemed to amplify her feelings on the matter. I'm tasting myself. I can make my body come hard as that stallion ever could. Her delicate tongue swirled around her hoof, and she moaned aloud as she lapped at the last of her reward. The fashionista looked up at Discord, her eyes still absorbed by the colors he had long since stopped displaying. Wearing a hazy smile, she whispered to him in a quiet and breathy voice. Amazing. I want more. And it will never be enough, my dear. Now, what would you do if a stallion were to find you? Suddenly, a look of surprise and curiosity flowed over Rarity's face. She wasn't expecting something like that to be spoken of, naturally. With an embarrassed stammer, she remarked with what little conscious awareness of her actions that she had left. Find me? No, not like this. At this point, Discord reached forward and held her chin to face him as he spoke. He was going to turn this pony upside down if he had to, and what a fun experience it would be. Oh, but you love it when you have an audience, Rarity. An audience. Watching me. Discord began to plant a new seed of an idea into the mare's head. A little bit of showing off wouldn't hurt a talented mare such as herself, would it? Perhaps with a bit of urging on, she could learn to love the concept of being watched as she centered herself so eagerly. When they're thinking about you, stroking themselves for you, it drives your body absolutely wild, doesn't it? The images flowed through Rarity's mind and acted as her most personal desires. She liked it when she looked her best for a crowd, as sexy and wanting as she could be. The poor stallions being forced to get themselves off just as the thought of her turned her on, and had instantly gotten her pussy dripping with another strong need to be satisfied. She sat up and looked at Discord with half-lidded eyes, almost forgetting her predicament through a filter of pure lust. In the same instant, she grinned and licked her lips as she eyed the tall being facing her. With his own arousal clearly visible, she tempted him much like the seductress she was becoming would. Oh, am I really so arousing that you can't hold back, darling? Well, don't be afraid. You can look, but you can't touch. At that, Rarity's hoof returned to her moist sex, already working her folds and pressing slightly into her. She flipped her mane out of her sight as she cooed weakly. The mare even knew she was enjoying her new fantasies, and her talented hoos were certainly assisting her. Every brush of her slit caused her to moan out happily, but she endured it with that dazed smile of hers. The Chiconicus had created a perfect opportunity for him to have some fun with the horny little mare. He stepped forward, aiming his member at her, beginning to stroke it with his paw, joining her in a little masturbation session while laughing aloud. With a body like yours, I simply couldn't resist, Rarity. Show me more. With a chuckle of her own, Rarity's eyelashes fluttered as her right hoof reached to lift her hind leg up, leaving her hot sex in full view as she massaged herself to the god of chaos. The sweat and scent she exuded from her body only served to make her look even more attractive than she could see for herself. Oh my, you can see everything. How shameful of me. A sexually driven mare noticed Discord's pace beginning to quicken, and this set her off right away. Her hoof pressed itself inside of her folds, and she felt her muscles squeeze down on it, eager to draw more and more of her in if she could manage it. A moan escaped her lips as her normally gentle hoof became as hard and rough as a stallion's own erection. She carefully inserted more and more until she finally reached her own G-spot, knowing exactly where it was for herself. She was glad that she still kept her body so tight, even after all the time she spent masturbating to the thoughts of higher pleasure at night. Discord had ensured that she remembered these times, as they formed the basis for her now very horny mental state. Rarity's mind only seemed to amplify the incredible pleasure she felt. It was like an aura around her that radiated from her body and smoothed over every inch of her fur. Every moment urged her to please her body deeper and with more intensity as the seconds passed. It may have only been a hoof, but with Discord's instructions affecting her, it felt as if she were being blessed by a miniature orgasm over and over. Slowly, the color in her mane began to fade away. Wait. The color in her mane began to fade away, as did the light gray coat she had, in favor of a much duller gray. Rarity was so very horny, she called out to the Draconicus in front of her, even as she lost all her color. Wait. Yes, that's it. Stroke it so hard for me. I bet you'd like it if I had sex with you, wouldn't you? Ha! A lady would never disgrace her perfect body with such a filthy, disgusting cock like yours. Discord laughed yet again, only far more maniacally, as he enjoyed the show of the element of generosity displayed for him. She had become quite the lewd pony, and as she built herself up more and more, he could tell that she was feeding her new, selfish personality. Stroking himself only a foot away from the mirror, he spoke quietly to her through his never-ending smirk. Come now, Miss Rarity. Give your audience a show. Come for us, and we will come for you. Yes, I can feel it. All of your pleasure, all mine. The mare came harder than ever as her breath grew heavy and she screamed out from the bottom of her heart. Indeed, she had felt it as if her body had absorbed every ounce of pleasure, an orgasmic feeling that she had fed to it, either from her willing audience or given to her by her own hoof. Rarity savored the final moments of her astronomical high as she squirmed in place before finally the Draconicus grunted and spurted his sticky seed into the air, aimed steady at her. The ropes of cum flew onto her face, spread on her chest, and some even decorated the hoof that he still pistoned in and out of her naughty hole. She cooed gently as the thick stream slowed to a trickle, the final drops coating the cheek of the mare's smiling face. This display of raw desire had made her so very pleased with her abilities, looking down at her as this tip oozed at the last remnants of a seed. Discord remarked back to the mare to continue boosting her ego. I'll bet it feels nice to know how wanted you are, Rarity. Maybe you should go back to your boutique and take some time to explore your wonderful body. With a nod, she stood up weakly and felt the hot cum staining her coat as she did so. Turning back on a path to the maze's exit, she allowed her tail to switch from side to side as her flanks did their job of looking particularly appetizing to the Draconicus. Rarity knew exactly what she was doing, looked back, and gave a brief wink before she spoke to herself. A lady's body should always be treasured. Mine deserves to be worshipped. That was the end of chapter... What was it? Technically chapter 3, but it's technically the 4th in line because of Discord's introduction, so... Next time, on the Garden of Chaos, we will be reading Unleash the Beast with Fluttershy. I might have a guest in here, because if you guys have watched Mare's Milk, my friend, he is a really fucking good Fluttershy. I'm a really bad Fluttershy.
Oh, I mean, if that's okay with you.
Well, based on the fact that I'm not a girl, I can kind of do Fluttershy, but he does much better Fluttershy. Provided you guys want that, I will try to arrange something, but if you do ask for it, it might take a bit longer to record because of time differences and such, and getting time to record, and blah 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 blah, yada yada yada, etc. etc. Anyways, this has been the Garden of Chaos, and next time we will be reading Unleash the Beast. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.